Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jared Farrell. I'm a Senior Client Advisor with Global Reviews, and I'd like to thank you, first of all, for coming along this morning. We have a good few people on the webinar this morning, so hopefully we will cover something which will be interesting for everybody. And I'd also like to welcome you along. If this is your first webinar with us and you haven't gone through some of the details, we will be discussing some of the elements with regards to methodology, and then I will be showing key figures from research that we completed in Q4 2014 into the home insurance market in the UK. So, moving straight into it, as I said, we're talking about home insurance this morning, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off with some top line figures, and then afterwards, apologies, I just mute everybody's microphones there because there's somebody whose microphone is on, so if you can bear with me 2 seconds. So thank you very much. Sorry for that. So we're going to start off with some top-line figures with regards to what's driving the UK in terms of people choosing home insurance providers, and specifically looking more at when they're making the decision, when they're researching online and they're choosing between different providers having visited their websites. Then I'm going to go into a little bit of the methodology behind the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program, and specifically the research that we conducted in Q4 in 2014, and then I'm going to give some best practice examples behind the reasons why different brands are scoring in different ways with regards to the customer experience journey as customers try to buy from you on your website when they're looking for home insurance. So starting off at the very, very top, as I said, one of the questions that we asked 280 in-market consumers who were looking for home insurance policy within the next 90 days was to rate a number of elements in terms of importance on a 10-point scale when it comes to deciding on home insurance policy with an insurance provider in the UK. I've pulled these results in two ways. I have looked at the top two boxes, 9 and 10, in terms of importance, and I've also pulled them in terms of the mean score. So what I'd like to do, though, is immediately straight away we can see that information that is easy to understand and a website that is easy to navigate both come out as being very important. Now, we know that the insurance category is one where consumers struggle potentially with technical language and complex product options. We can see that from lots of different types of anecdotal research that is out there already. So it's not surprising that the most important element for customers is that ease of understanding information is the single most important thing to them, at a top box score at 73%, and rank 10 coming in at 46, which is a huge score. The importance of accessible information and transparency continues, with 66% saying that the website needs to be easy to navigate, and as I said already, is the second most important element. So, while the importance of the accessibility of the information and also how easy the information is to understand comes in at number 1 and number 2, the cumulative top-level score, the two top boxes on ability to apply online, looks like it's the third most important element. But when we look at the mean scores further down, we can see that information that is detailed and complete is actually, in terms of mean scores, the most important element. So this is interesting because the message that we can take from this is that transparency and accessibility is key, and comparison in terms of importance when it comes to a website are much further down. So we talk about the ability to be able to compare quotes online, both internally and externally, against different types of product options, but really the consumers are in this space where they want information which is transparent, easily understandable, and something that they can easily access. One thing which is very important to mention with regards to the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program is that we remove price from the concept when we're actually doing research. So price is not included in this methodology, and what we're really doing is we're benchmarking companies against each other when price is taken out of the equation. That is why you do not see price as one of the options on the screen in front of you at the moment. So moving on to the next slide, and we had 15 elements here that we were asking him to rank, and so these are the bottom 5 with regards to in terms of importance, and we can see that ratings and reviews in terms of customer ratings and also expert ratings are much less important in terms of ranking against all 15. In reality, though, these two things help to build trust and are supporting factors with regards to customers feeling that somebody has been here before. So it is important to separate the concept out of what consumers claim is important to them and then what actually in reality works as a supporting piece of information. And this is something that we're going to look at later on when we look at some of the results. Tools in general are seen as less important, like the online chat function, but it is important to remember that the difference between features and benefits when we're talking about the various different types of things that people rank as important to them. So online chat may not be ranked as very important. However, we already know that information that is easy to understand is hugely important, and we could surmise that online tools to assist me to understand what cover is right for me is a way in which we can make information easily accessible and also easy to understand. So it's really important to understand the difference between features and benefits when it comes to website optimization and also improving the navigation and experience for customers as they move through the pathway to purchase. So they were some kind of key highlights with regards to what's driving this overall market. I now want to just look specifically at differences between age groups within the study, and then I'm going to actually move into more specifically the methodology and how the study was framed. So age differences within the actual study, we cut the sample based on 3 different age groupings. We have 18 to 35, we have 36 to 55, and we have 56 plus. Again, the sample was just shy of 300, and so when we break each one of these individual segments into a specific segment of its own, each segment is above a sample size of 80, which is the golden number from a statistical representative point of view. So the numbers do stack up from a statistical robustness point of view. So what is interesting here with the data that I've just shown in front of you is really the green line. The younger age group is the first thing that really jumps out. So what we could see is that those between 18 to 35 are more demanding really and are more likely to want tools that assist them in understanding cover that is right for them, to have the ability to view and manage their account online, and they want general information about home insurance and are more likely to want customer reviews. This group we know are the future and currently the acquisition territory for most types of insurance policies. That they are more demanding and expect more really gives us a good indication of where the industry needs to be playing in order to be able to attract these type of people. Those that seem to be working harder for them are more likely to succeed in acquiring their entry-level business for many of these people, because some of them will be buying their first house, or if we're talking about a different type of insurance, their first car, or certainly health insurance as maybe they move into having their first child. Age and experience, though, doesn't necessarily translate into a lower propensity to want information that is easy to understand. It's a very interesting finding with regards to the bottom bar there, information that is easy to understand. The group that wants easy to understand information and the ability to save a quote are the older age group. So this idea, the longer that I've been in the industry, the more I understand the information that's in it, and so therefore the propensity for me to want it to be more easy to understand as I get older doesn't play out. It actually is the opposite, which is really interesting. So insurance providers need to implement basic US best practice when providing simple, attractive design, which is utterly utilitarian in nature, is really the key finding. So these were the top level findings with regards to what's going on within the home insurance sector. I want to talk a little bit about who we are and then move into the methodology, and then I'll come back into the key findings. So we are Global Reviews. If you haven't come across us before, we are in operation since 2014, and since then we have been providing best practice worldwide with regards to measuring customer experience journeys and benchmarking them across different types of providers in different industries around the world. So one of the key things that we do specifically within the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program is that we identify the issues that 95% of your customers will experience when trying to buy from you online. We put brands in the homes of 50,000 in-market consumers annually. In the home is a key part of that. So the idea is that it's passive measurement, that the person completes the research while they're in their house on their home computer. And so it's a real-life, real-world methodology. I'm going to talk about some of the other elements with regards to the number of data points and the number of metrics that are involved specifically within the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program later on. But to frame this whole entire thing, really what we do is we measure customer experience from end to end with regards to pathway to purchase. The first stage, the discover phase, is a marketing effectiveness program. That's a different program that I'm not going to be talking about this morning. What I am going to be talking about this morning is the sales effectiveness program, which is really the consider and the act phase. As the person has reached the door of your website, they are now going through the process of researching, looking at their options, creating their final shortlist, and then actually trying to buy from you. So the sales effectiveness program really is how effectively do customers engage and how well do you help them match a product or service to their needs, and then ultimately how easy is it to purchase a product or service from you online. So the digital sales effectiveness benchmark, I mentioned that there are a number of different metrics and data points that go into it. There is a lot of data. It is a very sophisticated methodology, and so I'm not going to be able to go through all of the data today, obviously, and I'm really going to be giving you top-level scores with regards to how the market is performing and key performers in the market. But there are 4 unique data streams that go into the methodology for the digital sales effectiveness. The first one is customer behavior. We recruit users to perform tasks on the site. Why? Well, we ask them to rate success of performance with regards to completing specific tasks that in-market customers would typically want to complete as they are working through your website. So we've got efficiency and pathways through the site. We also look at customer attitude, so survey questions, pre and post interaction on site. So what we're measuring is expectation and satisfaction. Did the site live up to what they were looking for? We also conduct a customer audit where the customer actually tells us the importance of various different elements as they're moving through the pathway. And again, obviously we're ranking and measuring the performance of navigation, things like look and feel and content. The fourth element, which is the best practice audit, is something that has been built up by us over 14 years doing this worldwide with leading brands in different industries. And internally, what we do is we look at about 500 different metrics and we rank the websites of the people who are involved in each individual program on the basis of things that they should have which help customers to buy or to search out answers to questions which will inform them to then make an ultimate decision of whether they're going to buy from you. So we're looking at provision of relevant content and tools. These 4 different unique data streams are combined together on the basis of the customer journey. We weight the data on the basis of how important each individual step is in the pathway to purchase, retrospective or respected to the actual next step of the journey. And so some parts of the journey are more important than others in terms of influencers and levers to get the consumer to the final pathway to purchase and over the line. We pull all of the results together into the final results, obviously, but what we do is we create this one singular dashboard score, which is the customer experience score. Now, the customer experience score is a very macro level score with regards to how different companies are performing within a particular industry. It's a very top level score and usually would be used as a benchmark dashboard score, but it's not really diagnostic. It doesn't really tell us how the website is performing at each of the individual different stages. So we really need to look and drill down into the different stages and layers of data that are there in order to understand what's going on. But the customer experience score gives us an indication of how the website is performing respective to other competitors within the industry, or even people who are in other industries altogether, as we pull best practice from website design and customer experience across the world, and we use that to make recommendations to clients with regards to how people can improve their performance. So the different elements that are involved within the customer experience score. The top level, we have the phase. We looked at the consider and act phase, which is part of the digital sales effectiveness. We then have a stage. We have 6 stages in this study, and those stages are directly mapped against the actual customer journey or pathway to purchase as they're going through buying within this particular industry. So, for example, in the online, in the mobile phone digital sales effectiveness program there may be 7 stages, where in this one there's actually 6 stages. So the benchmark is created specific to the actual industry. Within each stage we have categories, elements which make up that stage. So we look at the introducing product options as the stage, and within that we have a category which is understanding fees and charges. And then within the category again we have subcategories. And then the 4 different data points that we looked at earlier on feed into the subcategories. The information is rolled up, and that gives us this one customer experience score. So that is how the methodology is created and how it's delivered. At a very, very macro level, these are the customer experience scores for the providers within the home insurance industry in the UK. So what we can see, the industry average, which comes in at 47%, and we can see those who are performing ahead of the industry average, Nationwide coming in at the top, and then we have a big gap between the top and Nationwide and Admiral towards the bottom. And Admiral more chasing the pack than some of the others who are at the lower level, with AXA and Churchill coming in not too far away from the actual industry average, but Admiral a significant difference then away from the industry average and the top performer. So this is the top level score. I mentioned the stages that are involved in this actual digital sales effectiveness program. I mentioned that there were 6. These are the 6 stages. I'm not going to be looking at all of these stages, however, just to give an idea of where we're going with regards to why I'm choosing particular data and also how that pathway works. We have initial engagement. The customer comes to the website, through to introducing options, evaluating options, facilitating decisions, channel selection, and then ultimately the application form at the end. The consider and the act phases fall into these stages on screen, as you can see in front of you, with 4 stages falling into the consider and 2 stages falling into the act phase. Just to give a flavor of the type of categories and subcategories, I'm not going to go into huge detail. I've just pulled out the consider phase for this particular program, and we can see then some of the subcategories that fall into, or some of the categories that fall into the stages. In initial engagement, meet expectation and build trust, assessing the needs of the customers are an example of some of the things that we're looking to measure. So straight into the data then, and that's the methodology. If you have questions, I am taking questions at the end, so I'll circle back and answer those questions if anybody has any specific to the methodology. These are the brands that we included in this particular study. So we have 12 brands in the home insurance market in the UK. As I said, the research was completed at the end of 2014, in Q4 of 2014. One of the key elements to mention is part of the methodology, how it works. We send between 20 and 50 in-market consumers to each of these brands. The consumers that go to one of these brands will not go to another brand. So it is exclusive, the consumers who go to one brand, and we give a number of tasks for them to complete as they go through it. And so that's when we combine all of the sample together, that's where we get this larger sample size. So it really is customer experience testing. So how did the different brands perform within the market? So I'm going to look at the data really at a macro level starting off, and what we're going to look at first of all is who are the top performers. So at the bottom of the screen you can see these are the different stages that were within this digital sales effectiveness program, and initial engagement, direct line are coming out on top. We have Aviva scoring well in 2 categories for introducing options and application form, and then Halifax, LV and Barclays also performing well. On the industry average then, we can see the industry as a whole is seeing pain at the evaluating and the facilitating decision stages. And there is a significant distance between the top performers and the industry average in some stages. The bottom performers with regards to some of the poor performers within the industry, we can see that Admiral, who make up the bottom in 4 out of the 6 stages, along with Tesco and AXA, are the bottom performers from this particular study. To mention evaluating options here, because it's standing out obviously as one of the key areas where there's industry pain, and what evaluation options actually covers. I'm not going to go into detail with regards to what's driving those scores on this particular one because I don't have enough time. But evaluating options really is about the customer's ability to compare your product or service to best meet their needs, what tools are available on your website which assist customers in their decision making, What facilities does your site provide for customers to match your product or service to their needs and requirements? And as always, it's always in relation to at what stage they are in the pathway to purchase. So that is a key element, and they are the elements that we use to measure evaluating options. But what I do want to cover is I want to cover initial engagement and the top performer and the bottom performer, and what is it that's driving the top performer score and the bottom performer score, and how can we improve scores in this area. So looking at all of the different brands in the study, 12 brands I mentioned earlier on, and comparing their score against the industry average, what we have here is an index against the industry average. We already knew that Direct Line was at the top and that Admiral was at the bottom, but we have multiple people on this webinar this morning, so I wanted to pull out some scores so that everybody could see how they're performing at this stage of the customer experience journey. So what are we measuring in initial engagement? What are the customer's first impressions of the website and the company? How do fundamental site elements perform, like navigation and privacy? Is the website building trust and a value proposition? How do we facilitate the customer considering the stage they are in the pathway to purchase? So drawing your mind back to what I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation and the importance of accessibility of information and ease of understanding, and that they have full information with regards to what they're looking for. The initial engagement stage is crucial, because at the initial engagement stage the person has arrived. If they can't get what they want quickly, they will leave. I'm going to show you some figures about that later on, but the reason why I pulled out initial engagements is because, considering what the customer is telling us what they want within the market, it is a fundamental part of the process that we need to be seen to be delivering what they want. And we all know the first impressions last. So what makes up initial engagement? What are the categories within these stages? We have meeting expectation and building trust, and then we also have assisting the customer needs. I want to specifically look at Direct Line and Admiral, and I also am going to compare against the industry average. The scores for meeting expectation and building trust: Direct Line coming in at 63%, Admiral coming in at 42%, industry average at 57%. And then for assisting customer needs, Direct Line coming in at 61%, Admiral coming in at 48%, industry average at 52%. There's obviously a bigger gap with regards to the meeting expectations and building trust, and so I would like to focus on this just for a moment. These are the subcategories which make up meeting expectation and building trust. And so here's where we start to see the story with regards to what's actually happening and driving the scores for Direct Line and for Admiral. So for value proposition, there is a lot of work for Admiral to do, and the industry in general with regards to differentiation and explain to the customer the reasons why one provider may be different. Returning prospects is a large zero there for Admiral with regards to customers being able to come back and that being facilitated, and then building trust is also another key area. So what is it that Admiral needs to do or could do to improve these scores, and what is it Direct Line is doing which is driving their scores to be the top performer in the market? We gave customers a specific task. We asked them to rate the homepage that they had just seen. So this was the first task that they completed when they came into the research. And so looking at some of the scores and how Direct Line was ranked in comparison to Admiral, we can see that the two areas that are highlighted on the spider graph displays all the information I expect to see on the homepage when looking for insurance. There's a big gap there between Direct Line and Admiral, and has a visual design that is appealing is also another large area. Looks like an easy website to use is an encouraging score because we know the importance of that. But this concept of trust and this concept of value proposition is key and crucial to customers, and they tell us why. They say that they think that the visual appeal is somewhat lacking on the Admiral website, as it looks a little childlike with a cartoonish character and brings and the colors. It's only geared towards people looking for car insurance. We're going to explore that a little bit more in a moment, as it looks more for car insurance as opposed to home insurance, and the website is very busy. Because the page is about car insurance and not home insurance, the home page, in my opinion, was geared more towards car insurance. So what do they mean? So we come to the Admiral website and we can see that home insurance is one of the options, but the messaging really here is for car insurance. We can see that if we know that based on Gestalt's theory of size, proportion and color, we can see size equals recommendation. Really we're being recommended car insurance here. We can see that similarity is really derived from the concept of color. If we color things in a similar way, then they have relative meaning to each other. The website itself isn't providing page friction with regards to the person being able to navigate through it and quickly understand what is going on the website without having to read the website. The concept here is that we don't actually read websites when we first come to websites. We scan websites and we use pre-attentive cognition really to understand very quickly what's going on through things like understanding through things of different color or the same color, or things are far apart or things are close together. So one thing that Admiral does do is they have multiple signposting. So they have home insurance at the top and they have an option to click on home insurance towards the bottom right hand corner. But the problem here is that they also have multiple messages for other things as well. And this is ultimately what's causing confusion with regards to, is this a car insurance company or is this a home insurance company? So let's look at an example from Direct Line and what is it that they're doing that is working so well. So first of all, they've got lexical and icon-based menu on the right-hand side, which increases the possibility for a person to understand the message which is being communicated to them and also allows them to move much more quickly. The clear signposting with a funnel process, which is if I click on this button, I know that it will take me to this place. It's clearly grouped within the product area, so car insurance, home insurance, and the home page really is a portal which will take me to these different places. The multiple use of get a quote with the use of color and placement will increase success. So in general, we would always suggest to people that they use multiple signposting. And there is clean, simple page design here so that people very quickly can understand what's going on in order for them to move forward. So this concept of building value proposition, we know from research, from academic research which has been conducted, that the first 10 seconds of a page visit is critical for users to decide to stay or to leave, and the probability of leaving is very high. The longer that they stay, the greater the probability that they will stay for much longer. And then we also have the goal gradient effect, which is the concept that the closer a person gets to completing the task, the more effort they will put into actually finally getting to that task. So if we don't present ourselves quickly in the mind of the customer of what they're going to get and the reason why we're different, there is a strong likelihood they will leave and go to someone who will communicate to them about what they're going to get and simply and not confused with regards to messaging. So this is the importance of value proposition. This is the reason why I'm talking about initial engagement, because it all begins here. If we don't do it correctly here, it doesn't really matter whether our application form is brilliant, because they will never make it to the application form to actually complete the process with the provider. So looking again at some of the reasons why the value proposition scores low for Admiral here. Where do the visitors go to purchase? There's no clear pathway to join or switch from the home page, and it doesn't promote that you can sign up completely online. There's no slogan on the home page that explains what Admiral do and that they have a competitive advantage. No links to information about who Admiral are, so specifically information about the company. There is awards clearly displayed on the top of the page, but the award is with regards to car insurance. So that's a messaging thing again. I'm looking for home insurance. Immediately I'm going to start going, okay, these guys don't offer home insurance. When I do scroll down, options are not presented on the basis of customer needs or the idea of get a quote here. But what we do have is we have multiple messages with regards to different types of insurance that are provided. If we look again at the Direct Line website and we look at how they're presenting the different types of insurance policies or products that are available to them, it's very little in the basis of lexical. It's very clean, and there are a large use of icons with regards to communicating to customers how to navigate through the site. Up front and center, they talk about why choose us, and then we have a testimonial at the product level, which is given by a third party. In this case, it's a customer. Use color to drive the page friction. Easy to understand, things jump out. I talked about the lexical and being used in conjunction with icon already. And then about us, the links to third party, follow us on Twitter, on social media, and then there's also a link to the media center, so if I want to go and find out more third party information about me. And then the social media buttons are actually interactive. Many companies have the social media buttons up there, but they're not clickable. So these are the things that going to this level with regards to providing a value proposition. Moving on then to the returning prospects, which is a key element within the initial engagement stage as well, we saw that Admiral scored 0 for the returning prospects, whereas Direct Line scored the highest. So on the Direct Line website, they have save options for later to retain the previous sections if you were on the site before. And then we also have direct access to this page from the home page. When I clicked on that home insurance element, it brought me straight into this actual page. So then we have the save retrieve information without the need for a password or to set up a login, and then the site will also recall my previous information if I've already entered it. So those are some of the key elements with regards to what's driving initial engagement. Now we're coming towards the end of the webinar, and so I do want to move quickly on to the next stage, and I just have a couple more slides, and then if you have questions, I'll take them as well. This stage I would like to look at facilitating decisions. I'd like to look at what's driving LV's score and Aviva's or AXA's score with regards to being the lower performer here. In the facilitating decisions, again, if we index our scores against the industry average, what is it that's driving facilitating decisions? Are they given adequate contact information and tools to keep you top of mind? How easy is it for the customer to get answers to questions? It's really rational and basic stuff as a customer wants to reach out and get answers to questions. However, on the company side, it's difficult because this obviously requires support and resources to fulfill that support. So it's going to cost money, and it is an investment decision. Do you convey why a customer should purchase your product or service, and how do we facilitate the customer considering the stage of the journey that they're at? There are 3 elements which make up facilitating decisions: to facilitate external comparison, contacting the company, and why choose this company. Looking again at LV and AXA, and we can see LV at 42%, AXA at 17% with regards to external comparison. In contacting the company, there is a massive distance here between the top performer and the bottom performer, 77% versus 12%. And then why choose this company, 80% for LV and AXA coming in at 41%. I want to focus on this contacting the company. What is driving the score? And why is it important? So enabling general questions, we can see AXA score stacking against LV, and then with regards to enabling immediate answers, we can also see that there is no score here for AXA. So what is that's driving these scores? So if this was a real-life situation and you encountered problems on a website whilst researching, what would you do next? This is across the whole entire sample. We were trying to understand how would they then move forward with regards to in terms of support. And one of the interesting things which jumps out here is that 20% state that they would leave the website if they weren't able to find the type of thing that they were looking for or if they encountered any problems. Then we also have a wide distribution with regards to the other different types of things that they would do if they encountered a problem on a website. What I'm trying to point out here is how important it is that the support element is there for customers, because if it's not, they will leave and go to a competitor. So what is it that AXA could be doing more of with regards to providing support? So on the quote page, there are FAQs available to customers here. However, it is small, and we know from anecdotal research out there that the smaller that something it is, the longer it takes for a customer to actually find it. And so we saw in the previous chart that 21% of people said that they would go looking for FAQs. There is no contact us or email us, which is what 19% of people said that they would do. There's no online web chat feature, which is 17%. No telephone number to contact the provider, 16%. And no call me back option, 7%. If we look at LV, they offer numbers, opening hours, plus other useful data on the product pages. And then they also integrate an optional glossary, which works both on the basis of a home insurance glossary, and then they have a whole LV glossary as well. So that really wraps it up with regards to looking at some of the best practice that's out there and what's actually driving the scores from the study that we did in Q4 2014. I'd like to present 3 things to consider to take away with you from this webinar this morning. First one is initial engagement is key. Expectation is high, and 1 in 5 will abandon if they have problems. Differentiate through a value proposition and provide reasons to believe why should they choose you as a company. And then, can customers easily contact the company? And so I know that there's more behind this in terms of resources and investment and key decisions that need to be made at a commercial level. However, from a customer point of view, they really want ability to contact in multiple ways, and that really is the key message there. So my name is Gerard Farrell, Senior Client Advisor at Global Reviews. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go offline for 1 minute because there's a couple of questions which have come in. I really promise I won't be longer than 1 minute, and then I'll answer those questions and we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much. If you could just wait 1 minute. Okay, thank you very much for waiting. So I have 3 questions. The first question is, how often do we run this study? Typically the Digital Sales Effectiveness Programme studies run twice yearly. We run them every 6 months. And so the next one with regards to home insurance is coming up in February. The second question that we received is, do we also look at mobile? Yes, we have a program which is called the Mobile Sales Effectiveness Program, and in that we specifically asked consumers to complete the research on their mobile phone. So we're looking at mobile web pages optimized for tablets and mobiles. And they were the 2 questions that I received. So thank you very much again for coming along, and my contact details are on screen. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and thank you very much again.